President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the chamber hands the floor to the defense team for Kieu Sampon for their key document presentation in relation to Tramkok Cooperative and Krantachan Security Center. Counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all of you. I'm going to break up my presentation in several parts. First, I will begin by reading out the 12 moral commandments that the Khmer Rouge had created for themselves way before 1975, and then I will deal with the cooperatives by referring to the documents referring to their creation, and I will speak in my third part about documents relative to the estimation of the death toll in Takeo province and in Tramkak district, and then I will finish, if I have the time, and I hope I will, by bringing up problems linked to the local cadres. Now, with regard to the 12 moral commandments, which we believe demonstrate how much the people were put forth by the Khmer Rouge, how they were placed in the center of all of their thoughts. We are very far here from anarchy, from destruction, and we are now clearly in a context where human beings are respected, or at least where there's a quest for this. And I would like to refer to the list drawn up by Mr. François Ponchot in his book Cambodia Year Zero, which is at E2.3, 243.1, ERN French 008 62 135, Khmer 0086 24 33 and 34, and English 008 620 85 to 86. I'm going to quote first a little comment that was made by the author François Ponchot, who writes the following: this complete adherence is based on respect for Ankar's commandments. The radio mentions the 12 revolutionary commandments, and refugees who have fled from the liberated zones in 1973 already knew these commandments. The Khmer Rouge soldiers who were guarding the French embassy the following day, the day following the fall of Phnom Penh, would recite these commandments every day. Commandment 1: the workers and people you will serve, honor the people. You will serve the people no matter where you are, full-heartedly and with your entire mind. Commandment 3: you will respect the people without harming its interests, without harming its possessions, and you will not thieve, not even one chili, and you will not pronounce any offensive words against the people. Commandment 4: you will ask forgiveness from the people if you have faulted against the people, if you have offended the people's interests, and you will restitute to the people what belongs to them. Commandment 5: you will follow the rules of the people, whether they're standing or sitting. Commandment 6: you will do nothing indecent towards women. Commandment 7: you will not consume food or drink that is not produced in revolutionary ways. Commandment 8: you will never gamble. Commandment 9. You will not touch the people's money. And you will not lay your hands on the people's possessions, and you will not thieve, not even a can of rice. Commandment 10. Towards the people and the peasants, towards the entire population, you will be humble. However, in the face of the imperialists and the enemies, you will nourish your hatred with strength and vigilance. Commandment 11. You will join the people in their production efforts. Commandment 12. You will fight against all enemies and all obstacles with determination and courage, ready for any sacrifice, even if you have to lose your life for the sake of the workers, the peasants, for the revolution, for the Ankar, without any hesitations, and relentlessly. End of quote, free translation. Now I'm going to speak about the questions relative to cooperatives. And in continuation of what I have just read out, these 12 moral commandments, I'm going to focus a little bit on the Khmer Rouge government's idea of the cooperatives and on the objectives. And throughout the entire duration of the regime, because I'm going to mention quote from 3 revolutionary flag issues, one from 1975, one from 1976, and one from 1977. The first is a revolutionary flag from October-November 1975, indexed E3/748. I'm going to quote, first of all, the French era N00499-693, English 004-95810, Khmer 000-63248. And I will quote, this is a paragraph falling under the heading a few issues relative to the building of agriculture and the economy. It's in paragraph 5. Medicine and the health of the population. For the people to be in good health, for the people to be in good shape, it is necessary that medicine is available to them to cure their illnesses. The health institutions have to focus on 3 issues that are ongoing. The first, we have to suppress malaria in 3 years in a radical way, as of 1976 to 1978. Second, it is necessary to suppress malaria that exists now, thanks to this medication. And 3, we have to cure the different illnesses as they appear, such as cholera, chickenpox, etc., etc. Now, I would like to move on to another page in the same revolutionary flag issue, French ERN 00499-701, Khmer 0063258, English 00495-818. Under the title that we have it is written today, tomorrow, and in the days to come. Each member of the party must have in mind clearly and on a constant basis the necessity of fulfilling the population's needs, the needs of food needs necessarily, clothing needs, and needs for housing, needs for medicine, also needs for education and leisure. This ideology and this duty represent a prestigious form of morality for all communists. on the following page, French ERN 00499702, English 0049958819, Khmer 00063259, under the heading the resolution of the subsistence means of all people is relevant to all parties' political lines. The promotion of the people's living standard is not a separate duty, but it is strictly related with all parties' political lines. In particularly, it is one of the most important keys to national defense and reconstruction within the party's collectivism. Now, political sense. In practice, if the people's living standards is promoted, the people's forces and health will gradually be improved. The people will be happy to support the revolutionary power and the party. It simply means that when the people received decent food, clothing, and lived in harmony with the revolutionary power, and the enemies would not be able to destroy it. It is therefore necessary to manage the people, to think about the politics and on the ideology and on the organization, and to promote all aspects of their living standard. Now I'm going to skip a paragraph to move on to heading 2, economic sense. Political sense cannot be separated from economic sense. If the people have sufficient food and clothing, the labor forces will be increased, and the rice production and the factory activities will also prosper. In our daily practice, we can produce rice, clothing, and steel at the same time. This regards the first issue of Revolutionary Flag of 1975.
President's Defense Council, please hold, and the international lead co-lawyer for civil parties, you have the floor.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is not an objection, but if I do not say what I want to say now, I will never be able to say it. It was our intention to present a certain number of documents regarding the policies in the cooperatives. We were informed by your senior legal officer that it was not recommended to present documents on the general policy with regard to cooperatives. At the last minute, we completely reorganized our presentation. This is why we presented a limited amount of documents yesterday. So I'm not raising an objection because I have no objection with regard to the defense presenting documents concerning politics, but we have to be clear for the record that we based ourselves on a principle that it was not desirable to present documents on the policies, and of course our presentation would have been very different if we would have taken the same latitude that the defense is taking today.
President Judge Laverne, you have the floor.
Yes, the Chamber would like the Kyo Sampan defense to focus on issues that are directly related to Tram Kok district. Now, with regard to the policies, in particular policies that were implemented at the national level, there will be opportunities to speak about this later, in particular when we work on further segments of this trial. This is why we would like these kinds of documents not to be presented now. I would like to challenge this. I am simply defending my client, and in this case, Mr. Kyo Sampan was not at Krang Takchang prison. He was not in Takeo province. So bringing up cooperatives without speaking about policies in following my objective of defending Kyo Sampan, I don't see how I can do otherwise than to present to you documents that concern the idea that the Khmer Rouge government had of how to respect their people and of how they thought it was necessary to meet their needs, and then to bring up the questions relative to the creation of these cooperatives and the issues linked to this. And of course, you heard this with the earlier presentation. There are points that are specifically relative to the death toll in this area, in this region. So I believe that I'm really meeting my objectives, that is to say, defending Kyo Sampan, and I'm not doing anything else. So if you forbid me today, during this hearing, which the defense is participating, walking backwards, you know that we had a lot of trouble earlier with these hearings that were destined for the press and for the people, and we decided today to participate in this hearing because we were going to provide our reply. This is an adversarial hearing, and this is why we decided to participate in the presentation of these documents, making an effort to not plead. But if you forbid me now to speak and to quote from revolutionary flag issues relative to the policy and to the idea that the Khmer Rouge government had in the creation of their cooperatives, I think I should just sit down and just let the day go by, because I think at this point I might as well just, stop.
President Judge Laverne, you have the floor.
Counsel Verken, the Chamber does not intend to challenge your right to defend Mr. Kyo Sampan. The Chamber simply wishes to draw your attention to the fact that this trial contains several segments, that one of the segments will concern indeed the role of the accused persons, as well as the policies that were implemented in what we allege is a form of joint criminal enterprise. And this will indeed involve the cooperatives. Well, simply what we want to tell you is that it was maybe not today, or today is not necessarily the best moment to present documents that refer, it appears, to a segment that will come along later in the trial. Understand, Counsel Verken responds, but cooperatives does not seem to be part of a later phase of the trial. Counsel Verken, we're speaking about Tram Kok today in Krang Tachang. We're not speaking about cooperatives at the national level. Answer, well then, good afternoon to all of you, and we will stop right now.
President, what about the National Co-Counsel for the Defense? Do you have any presentation to make? Cùng some on No, Mr. President, I don't. However, I'd like to provide my observation regarding the objection and the issue which has been discussed thus far. Although we focus on Tram Cooperative and Krang Tachan Security Center, they are related in general through other cooperatives or security centers throughout the country. For instance, Tram Cooperative is in principle related to other cooperatives established throughout the country. Therefore, it is impossible just to focus on the principles applicable at the Tram Cooperative, and other principles applies to other principles throughout the country. And even the prosecution did not differentiate between the principles or the practices at Tram Cooperative and other cooperatives throughout the country. Therefore, if we focus only on the distinction between this particular cooperative and other cooperatives, it would be impossible for us to make the key presentation. And if that is the main focus, then the co-prosecutor should have done so far, or should have done that so far.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President, Monsieur Kusampa would like to say something.
President, please hold on as the bench is deliberating on the issue. President Kirsampon, you are now given the floor. Kirsampon, thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors, and everyone. I'd like to confirm that I did not know any particular instances of what happens at Krang Tachan or at Tram Co. And I would like to appeal to the chamber to allow my counsels to make key document presentation based on the documents that I have in my hand and that my counsels have. That is on the policies of the DK. And on the contrary, I have been accused of a part of a joint criminal enterprise, although I did not know anything about what happened at Krang Tachan or at the Tram Cooperative. President, the International Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
A couple of points. First, the suggestion by counsel that we were presenting on general policy relating to cooperatives. I'd like to know what he is referring to. I just looked through my list of documents. They were all specifically related to Tramcock. As you heard, the civil parties were precluded from doing exactly what defense wishes to do now. A second, with regard to Mr. Kusampan's assertions, I'd like to know whether he's waiving his right to remain silent and will subject himself to questioning on whether he knows anything about Tramcock and whether he knows anything about these policies. And third, I would remind the defense they have repeatedly objected to us to questioning even on subjects within Tramcock. They object to Angroka as irrelevant. They object to discussion of Khmer Krom within Tramcock as relevant. They are constantly seeking to confine the scope of this trial, except when they get on their feet. Now they want to talk about cooperatives nationwide.
President Judge Court Defense, you have the floor.
Let me make an attempt to de-escalate that. First of all, to clarify for certainly the public, but perhaps also for Council and specifically for Mr. Krisampan, is it understood that the issue here is not whether you are allowed to present documents, but when this should be done? Is this understood? If so, because then the issue is back where it belongs, and that's organization. The question is, when do we hear those documents? And when it comes to this, did Council have the opportunity to read the email we sent to the co-lead lawyers, which basically dealt with a related issue, and where the Chamber clarified that we would appreciate if, at this point in time, Council would concentrate on documents related to Kram Tachang, as opposed to policies, which will be discussed later, with an opportunity to present those documents. My question is this understood, or do we still have to clarify further misunderstandings?
The first thing is that we are continuously told that we do not even know if the second trial is going to reach its conclusion. So this is something that has been said very often. And we were pressured, and we divided this major case into several sub-cases because there were risks that the defendants would not survive the trial. And to answer the prosecutor, I would say that Angroka and the Khmer Krom are not part of the indictment, so I don't therefore understand how we could even talk about this in this second case. So I believe here that the prosecution is stepping out of the scope of the trial more so than the defense. And now, with regard to what Judge Frenz has just told us, this is the main issue. You, for example, were lenient this morning when you said, with regard to an objection, so this morning, again, you reminded us of the difficulty of these document hearings. For us, these hearings are completely unacceptable, or were unacceptable in their first version that you set up in the first case. And today, these hearings are possible because they are adversarial. And here I'm quoting from documents that are relevant. I mean, revolutionary flag. I'm not quoting from documents that are new to anyone. I'm bringing up problems that concern the Krisampan defense, that concern his responsibility, that concern his adherence to certain principles and certain values, and why he followed them. Well, maybe, okay, you don't want me to bring up these points now. Well, I won't do so. Therefore, my presentation this morning was linked to this, and since this is the situation, I believe that I should stop now, and possibly, if God gives a long life to Krisampan, to his defense team, well, me or others someday will bring up these issues before you.
President, you have the floor, Judge Lavagna.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Chamber would like to emphasize the following. The Chamber has to ensure legality for all the parties, particularly regarding the preparation of the parties on this point of key documents. The Chamber notes that as part of such preparation, it has been seized of an application by the lead co-lawyers for the civil parties aimed at clarifying the types of documents they could present. The Chamber responded to Counsel Gigot, and that response was circulated to all parties, including Counsel Guisset, Counsel Verken, and the legal assistants working in their defense team. So today, I am surprised by the fact that Kyo Sampan's defense is surprised at the attitude of the Chamber, because the line regarding presentation of documents was known well before today. The purpose of the presentation of these documents was known well before today. So if the Kyo Sampan team wishes to present documents specifically regarding Kyo Tamkak and if they wish to do so, then we have to put an end to their presentation. Council Verken, I would like to point out that as we understand it, the documents we're presenting, we just started presenting them because the civil party made an objection which was not proper, because these documents are key documents for Mr. Kyo Sampan. And as far as we are concerned, these documents are key documents as regards the understanding, the assessment of the criminal responsibility of our client, if at all there is any such criminal responsibility. And that is the subject that we are concerned with today as we present these key documents. So if indeed the Chamber is of the view that our presentation is untimely, then we consider that we cannot make any presentation and intervene to that effect. Mr. Verken, you are again distorting the words of the Chamber. We have never said that those documents were not key documents. It is a matter of preparation and it's a matter of time. If you had received the message the Chamber sent to Counsel Giraud concerning the preparation of these key documents hearing, if you did read it, why did you not react to it? So if you had thought that the assessment was inappropriate, I believe what you're saying is not inappropriate. Let me read the text of that message in English. Forgive me for my accent.
Attitude as to how they wish to utilize the time allocated to them for presentations on key documents. At this stage, however, the trial chamber would be most assisted by presentations on key documents relating to events in Tram Kok district, presentation of evidence relating to events which occurred elsewhere may generally not be directly relevant or at least not timely. Donc, oui, j'ai bien...
So, yes, indeed, I read that message, Honorable Judge, but I didn't consider that that message debarred me from referring generally to the documents relating to Mr. Kyo Sampan's criminal responsibility and the fact that he was involved in the participation of a joint criminal enterprise in the region of concern to us today, that is the cooperatives, and the creation of such cooperatives. We consider that this mail is particularly clear as regards any prohibition of the defense to use documents regarding policy, especially as far as Mr. Kyo Sampan in particular is concerned. We consider that it is crucial for us to use these documents regarding the purpose of this trial and this particular phase of the trial regarding cooperatives. So we do not agree with the Chamber's analysis regarding the consequences of that mail. So we believe it is improper to prevent the Kyo Sampan team to present key documents it intended to present today, in keeping with all the rules imposed on the parties.
Just the last. Yeah. It would appear that everybody but the Kyo Sampan defense has understood the email the way it was meant. I give it to you, the language is polite, it doesn't order, it is a polite language. Nevertheless, it has been understood by everybody, with the exception, apparently, of the Kyo Sampan defense. And before I ask the last question, in order to avoid any confusion, again, this is not an issue of if you are allowed to present documents or certain documents, but when. So this is not an issue of rights of your clients being neglected. This is an issue of the Chamber organizing a trial in a manner which treats all the parties equally. Having said all that, the last question is, and now confronted with the understanding that pretty much everybody had about this email, do you have documents relevant to Krang Tachang to present today or not? Would counsel need a break to sort through his documents? How long?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. I just need to discuss the documents with my client.
President, the Chamber now declare a short break until now, from now until 2:30 to leave time for the defense counsel for Mr. Kyo Sampan to discuss with their client.